Okay, we're gonna have significantly less fun on this video, which I think is a pretty good way to start a video. I think that's what hooks them in, gets them in for the ride. We got a ride today. We got a ride today. This is not a pop culture issue. This isn't me going into the depths and possibilities of fictional astrology, but a real world situation, because astrology works, it exists, and it has real world ramifications for people and can help people and can change lives. And that's the point of working with it. That's what fascinates me. And so today we're going to talk about a particularly horrifying horary chart, which I cast. Now, horary is the art of having a very serious question you need answered, and the pressure and intensity of the planets in that moment, in the exact configuration around where you are as this question comes into form, describe the answer to that question. Now, this is an element of astrology which will push the pseudoscientists to their breaking point, because there's just simply no way you can form some kind of quasi-scientific framework around this when it works, and it does. Astrology is magic, and it requires the Saturnian effort to learn a skill fully, to understand the medium you're working within to such a degree that the heavens then open up and speak to you in very personal ways. And horary is, in a way, the most profound evidence of this. Now, doing natal astrology and working with the energies hitting a natal chart, this is the deep healing. This is the deep work that helps you get to the core of who you are and what you're supposed to be doing on this planet. But sometimes you need a quick answer, and horary is something that can provide an immediate answer to something when you really need the goods. So this is the story I'm telling you, which I have permission to tell, and it was by far the most emotionally invested in a chart I've ever been, and it was a pretty serious situation. So what happened was, I have a friend, someone I've kind of known online for many years. We were in a course together years ago, and she's kind of like someone who's kind of been involved in what I've been doing and interested in what I've been doing, and she's become a friend over the years. And she was interested in my work with astrology and came to me one day with a serious issue. Her daughter had gone missing. Okay, her daughter had moved south of the border. I'm in Canada here, south of the border into the United States, and didn't have a phone and had just gone off the radar. She couldn't get a hold of her for a significant amount of time, and she was worried, understandably. Now, the situation was this: she had 3 children to a man who was abusive and had control over her. And adding to this also, which the details are a little bit fuzzy on this, when she really came to be aware of the depths of a fentanyl addiction that her daughter was under. So we're talking about a pretty nasty situation. And so I had the natal chart details for her daughter and for her, and I did all this work and all this research into the charts, and I just couldn't get an answer for her. I couldn't find what I needed to help her. And it was upsetting me because there were children involved, and this was a very serious situation. And so all I could do at that point was I cast a horary chart. And it was because it's not something I do for myself personally very often, but I definitely do it for friends and other people when they really need an answer to something. But I cast it for myself, and this is important. This is an important part. Because when someone's asking you and you cast a chart in that moment, they become the ascendant. The ruler of the ascendant represents them. Now, in horary, 7 classical planets, as they're displayed around the zodiac in that moment, become actors on a stage. And it's the house cusps which determine what they mean and what role they're playing in the chart. And it's the exact interplay between these planets that tells you the reality of that situation in that moment. Now, this is weird. This is getting way out there, but it works. I promise you, this works. First off, when I cast this chart, I had to immediately decide. Now, she did ask me, right? She asked me, but she wanted me to go through, natal chart details and transits and figure out what I could about the situation. It was me who was asking this horary. And this is important. Now, another element of horary, which once it really opens up to you, is just how literally descriptive these charts become of the situation. And when I first pondered, is my friend going to be the ascendant, or am I going to have to turn the chart for her? Now, the ascendant of this chart is at 5 degrees of Gemini. My sun is 8 degrees Gemini. So the chart sort of told me right away, right off the bat, no, you're asking this chart. You're asking for her. That's how the universe in this moment is going to solve this issue. Okay, so turning the chart means whatever the questioner is, you can count the houses around that to find the ascendant, which describes different people in relationship to the quesitor. All right, is that a little too complicated? I'll slow it down. This person is my friend. Friends are described by the 11th house. And so the house which describes my friend, I count 11 houses around from the ascendant, is the 11th house. And the 11th house cusp in this chart is at 0 degrees of Pisces. So my friend is described by Jupiter in this chart. Okay? The condition of Jupiter in this chart is that it is in the 12th house, which is a house of feeling trapped and unable to see what's actually happening, which was very descriptive of where she was at. She was lost. She was blind. Now, how do we find her daughter in this chart? Well, the 11th becomes the first when we're talking about her. So we need 5th from the 11th. So if we count that with the 11th being first, follow me, I know all this math, right? So we count around, we got 11th house is the first cusp, 12th house is the second cusp, first house is the third cusp, 4th house is the second cusp, 4th house is the second cusp, 4th house is the second cusp, and so the 5th house becomes the third cusp. The third house cusp, which is in Cancer in this chart. Well, it's at this point when I see things that are this descriptive and this just showing the situation as it is that I realized, okay, I have what we call a radical chart. This chart is describing the situation, and I'm going to get my answer through this chart. And so my friend's daughter is described by the moon in this chart. Well, the moon is the significator of lost things to begin with, okay? And it also represents mother. And in this chart, we have a mother looking for her daughter, who is the mother of 3 children, which is part of this crisis situation we're in. Now, where is the moon? The moon is in the 9th house of this chart, which is a foreign land. She was lost in America. Now we need to look at the dignities of these things. The moon in Capricorn is in detriment. She had no power to help herself in this situation. Lost in a foreign land with no resources. But where is the father in all this? Well, in order to find the father, we need the 7th house cusp from my friend's daughter, which the 7th house cusp is always the partner, right? So the 7th from Cancer is Capricorn. So not only is the moon in the 9th house, this foreign house, it's also under the control and within the house of this abusive partner, which is represented by Saturn in this chart. Now Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. This is not a powerful Saturn. And yet it is in control of the moon. The moon is in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, literally. Now, one of the significations we get from Pisces can be overindulgence in substances. And we see Saturn here. We discover down the line that he was controlling her by giving her the fin. Okay, so this chart is completely descriptive of what we're talking about. Furthermore, the moon is in a sextile with Neptune. Neptune, again, has the significations of drug use. It's not a good situation. And what about the children of this mother? If we go 5th from her house, which is the 3rd in this chart, if we count 5th, going 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 7th house of this chart becomes her children. Again, we see Jupiter as the ruler. And again, if we go back to Jupiter, it's trapped in the 12th house. So both my friend and her grandchildren are in Taurus, exalting the moon, exalting the daughter and the mother who is trapped and has no ability to help herself. We do see something interesting, which it seems like there's no help for the moon in this chart, no dignity where it is in Capricorn to help it, other than the fact that this is a night chart and the triplicity ruler of Capricorn at night is Jupiter. So there's this tiny little window, this ability for my friend to be able to rescue her daughter. Now all this was weighing on me and concerning me, but when I realized the moon was 6 degrees away from Pluto, from conjuncting Pluto, I got extremely concerned. Now there are ways to time things within a horary chart. And there are people who will tell you not to use the outer planets in a horary chart. But I want to impress something on you once you learn the rules of this art. Whatever astrology you use, whatever you know to be true in astrology can apply to a horary chart. Do not be constrained by strict, rigid rules when it comes to this. The chart will speak to you when you're ready for it. And so, in a cardinal sign, in a cadent house, we know the timing for this is going to be quick. It's going to be a quick timing. In terms of the moon meeting Pluto, we have the significations of death and abduction. Okay? And in terms of the timing where something horrible could happen here, I had to give it the quickest time possible, which was 6 days. Supporting this message, we see a trine from Uranus to the moon. Uranus co-present with Jupiter, implying this shocking, surprising, unexpected save for the moon. It was another indication for me to tell my friend, you need to go now. You need to act immediately. So without explaining all of this to my friend, all I could do was just urge her, please get there. Please get there. Please find a way to get there. And while I have work and have this, I said you need to get there before Monday. Moon Day, no less. And she trusted me and believed what I was saying and found a way to get down there. She happened to have a connection with someone working at CPS who had a connection with her daughter who'd been involved in the situation. And the day before she got there, apparently one of the grandkids had gone to a local restaurant, a Hooters, and commandeered their payphone to try and get a hold of her to say how bad the situation was because their mother was snorting fentanyl constantly for a few hours. And so she got there, and she got her daughter, and she got her grandchildren, and she got back over the border. Okay? She got those kids. And on the Monday, as they had gotten over the border, the mother OD'd. Okay? And survived. Because there was support, and they were back in their homeland. And the kids are okay, and the kids are with the mother, and the mother is on a healing journey and fixing herself. This is real. This happened. It's a powerful art, and it's not to be messed with. Unless I feel like making silly videos about the X-Files and other TV shows. Other than that, I take this very seriously, and there's healing here, and there's an ability to help people. That's it. That's all I want to say.